in the frame, members on the line, cups up in the dark. It's out.
Oh, and we're back, ladies and gentlemen. It is a special day. We are recording this for our bench warmer member exclusive for Memorial Day. That is when you're able to hear this. We really hope that everybody had a great time with their family. Took a little bit of time to think about the reason why this holiday exists, why it's important to take a little bit of time out today. We'll have some different things about that, but obviously, since that's what you're listening to this on, if you are one of our exclusive Benchwarmer members for $2.99 a month, we appreciate it. Make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Follow at FEOTV Pod. There is going to be a lot of therapy. There's going to be, I said repent upstairs. I feel like that's the wrong word. I'm not going to repent because I'm not the only person who is saying things along the lines of what I was saying in a lot of the 90 seconds from the bench over the last few days, and talking about just the Avalanche and Golden Knights, the episode. Nico and I still had a lot of confidence with what we had witnessed coming out of the Minnesota series, and clearly that confidence did not lean itself into reality. Don't know what exactly has happened, but we're going to talk about the game 3 because that happened most recently. Pretty much the entire series kind of goes along the same lines. And then we'll talk a little bit about where the Denver sports scene seems to be sitting, because what was a very exciting time about 2 months ago at the end of March going into April has turned into dire straits, because it's not over. It is not over, but it is dire straits, and that is why you're going to see me probably rocking the PLL Redwoods hat. Hopefully they are doing well. Nico will be getting back in with them. They had a bye week this week, so he was on vacation. The normal episode will still come out on Thursday, like everything. By that time, we will know if we're looking at a game 5 or if we are looking at the Colorado Avalanche being swept. After an 8-1 playoff run, we will have a tried and true answer to that question. Just kind of getting everything set up here. By the way, since it is Memorial Day, that also means it is the unofficial start of the summer. So cheers to all of you. Enjoy your summer months. If you are a teacher like myself, I'm going to talk about it at the end again, but we've earned this, and I really appreciate everybody jumping on board and getting involved with things, letting us know. It really helps. We have a lot of exciting things in the works behind the scenes. Probably going to start noticing some changes to the show next week, and we'll talk a little bit more about that once it gets a little bit closer. Memorial Day, the unofficial start to the summer. This is when all of the community pools get opened. That's why it's exciting, but it is also important because it is to remember those, not just people who have served in the military. That is what Veterans Day is for. Memorial Day specifically goes out to the people who have paid the ultimate sacrifice, made the decision to be a part of the U.S. Armed Forces, and was not able to return home after some tour of duty. So Memorial Day, obviously a very special time for those people. If you have a member of your family or know somebody in your life that is a part of this, I hope that the next few moments puts a smile on your face. I decided to write a poem, kind of step out of my comfort zone slightly. I am going to be an English teacher next year, so I might as well check and see if I'm good at this. But this is my Memorial Day poem. They made the choice one day to turn and run the other way. As chaos pushed those around them back, they chose to rise and attack. Knowing the danger that lied ahead, they protected the ones they love as they lied in bed. And if they must fight and die, they will with their head held high, because they made their choice one day. It is something that I think is awesome. The military appreciation, the November, obviously that's where it gets a lot more involved. I've learned recently about more military history in my family, so none of my family members or people that I know directly really have anything to do with Memorial Day. It's more so Veterans Day, but just being a proud American, being able to do this show and have people who join in, hundreds to thousands of people each week that join in and listen to my opinions and mock my opinions and agree with my opinions sometimes, that is all made possible by the people who have fought and the people who have fought and died in service of their country. And the world is a better place for them. The world is a better place because of them. And for everybody who gets to continue living the lives that we do, as much as we want to sit there and complain about it, if we really sit back and think, our lives are pretty good, and we all have the ability to try and make them a little bit better. It's up to us with doing what we can with that knowledge and with that power. moving from one emotional topic to another, obviously that's in vain, in jest. The Colorado Avalanche right now are staring at a 3-0 deficit in the Western Conference Final. And not only are they staring at a 3-0 deficit, it is the 7th game in a row that they've lost to the Las Vegas Golden Knights in the postseason. We had thought following round 2 against Minnesota that the Colorado Avalanche had put to bed all of the boogeyman and all of the scary monsters that existed in their history. There are teams that we just don't want to see. Last year, it was proven that we didn't want to see Dallas Stars, and it ended up biting us real bad in the third period, where he gets a natural hat trick against you. He gets to send you home. And this year, we're still fighting. We're still playing. You still have to win 4, and winning the 4th is normally the hardest one to do. But just with how everything is played out and with really that lackluster performance that's leaving a sour taste in your mouth from game 3, it is very hard to take what everybody considered the best team all season and what we have said was the best team in the entire postseason, the Central Division champion, President's Trophy winner. They are not necessarily a team that I could see beating the Las Vegas Golden Knights 3 out of the next 4 times before Vegas gets one more. Because what have they proven? They have proven that they know the formula of beating you. They have proven that they are mentally tough. They are not a team that is just going to roll over and give you a game like Minnesota did up 3-0. If they get a lead on you, they're going to make it hurt. If they get ahead of you, they're going to make you chase them. And when you get out in front of them, they will take it one series, one shift, one shot at a time until they fight themselves back. And that's exactly what happened in this game 3 moment. As much as I bleed burgundy and blue, at this point where things are sitting, I am not going to be able to wear anything related to any kind of hockey next month when I go out to Las Vegas. I said last week on this show, and I said with Nico on episode 275, I was hoping that I'd be able to wear some Avalanche stuff, be able to bathe in the tears of the Vegas people that live at the resorts, work at the resorts, and love this team. And I will still give them credit because their fan base has been strong. And this has been the most battle that I've actually had to have on social media since starting 90 Seconds from the Bench and the membership stuff and getting a little bit more attention on the feed. You have every right to say anything that you want. I have to ask you for permission pretty much to do anything that I want to do moving forward. Vegas owns the Far End of the Bench and Ridin the Pine podcast. So what do you want me to say about your team? Do you want me to say that you're tougher? Because I think that you're tougher. Do you want me to say that I think you're better coached? I do think you're better coached. Do you want me to say that Carter Hart is a better goaltender than Scott Wedgwood? He's definitely been a better goaltender in this series. The Avalanche have not necessarily put much issue towards him. Biggest things is Vegas is the aggression and the desperation. What I talked about with the playoffs and getting to the conference final, everything ramps up just that much more. And they are embodying that. They have taken this idea of we're not good enough to beat this team. We only scored 95 points in the regular season. They had none of that in their head. And all they needed to do was get to this round and get to the point where they're 4 games away. And they've chipped away at that every single game since game 1. They got the big win, ended up stealing both games in Denver. You erased the 3-goal lead in about 10 minutes last night and end up dominating, winning 5-2, where your oldest forward ends up walking the young stud defenseman. Well, I guess we could say stud in quotes now. Sam Olinsky gets walked out of his jockstrap, and you're just not even putting any pressure on a guy who has shown that he can crumble underneath it. Carter Hart is not somebody that has had this massive successful run in the NHL. This is the best that he's ever played, and you are making him look like Patrick Waugh or Martin Brodeur reincarnated, and that's just really upsetting. The worst part about this entire thing is that they teased us for 20 minutes and then they decided to just go in a complete turtle shell. And whereas we talk about professional sports and the reason why we love these teams and care as much about them as we do is because they represent the places that we're from. And Nico and I are Colorado natives. I'm a Colorado native. My family all loves the Colorado Avalanche, and they talk to me about every game. They all are very excited and wanted to see this thing work out. And now we're all ashamed. It is a very shameful experience to have to go into work tomorrow. And if I had Vegas Golden Knights students in my class, I'd have to listen to everything that they said. I'm going to be stuck at 8 X's. Every single year on my whiteboard, I put out the Mission 16W for the Nuggets and Avs, and I've already erased the Nuggets one. And now I'm getting to the point where I was looking real good, had 8 X's up there on the board. We made it through half of the Western Conference playoffs. We're in the Western Conference final. We're playing against a weak Pacific team. Making Jack Eichel, Dorofeev, Ivan Barbashev looks like a goal scorer in his prime. Everywhere on the ice, you're just getting beat. we'll talk about Game 3 now specifically, and I'll get the Gamecast thrown up on the screen so that everybody can enjoy that, or not enjoy that if you're part of our contingency of Avalanche fans. Let us know down in the comments what you think the biggest changes that you can see coming down the pike. I'm obviously not going to necessarily address those big moves until the end of the actual season. We're just getting everything pulled up here on the screen so that I can share it with you all. See, Game 3 starts in the first period. The Colorado Avalanche get scoring from their captain, who that's basically what started this entire narrative around the Colorado Avalanche, whether or not they're going to be able to defend their Stanley Cup title because he was not there for so long. But Landeskog starts off the scoring. You get Kadri, who's finally coming back. Looked like he was going to be into his 2022 form and been that dog that he said we let go off the leash. Didn't end up happening. And then you get Jack Drury on a shorthanded goal just after Vegas has a goal disallowed because it knocks off part of
third goal comeback of these playoffs. Here's some speed and a chance and a penalty and a goal. Long time Washington.
Even with that, Vegas ends up going into intermission still with power play. And the captain, Mark Stone, in his return game, is just embodying what we wish this Avalanche team had.
Shots are already 11.
Even while playing with the deficit, Mark Stone seemed like he had a clear instinct, and he was able to get the power play goal assisted by Marner and Hurdle. And then William Karlsson, a little bit later on after that, about 5 minutes after, he gets the goal that makes it a 1-goal game. And Kolesar right at the end of the period, really just sapping any sort of stress, not stress, but just momentum that we could have had going into any part of this game. And Kolesar takes it all away from you. It's really, it seems like it's not as much and not as bad as it was. But if you were watching this game live, you saw the momentum and you saw the mentality just wilt. Josh Manson is a guy who has the assist on the shorthanded goal from Jack Drury. That is a down ice stretch pass that goes from the crease to the opposing blue line, and they executed it perfectly. From that point on, Josh Manson, I think, lost about 15 Golden Knights behind him in defense. On the goal that Mark Stone scores, there's 2 backside trailers on that power play. So the penalty kill absolutely fell to shit in this most recent game, and you just don't get any of the response that you were hoping. Nathan McKinnon goes down in the second period after trying to block a shot, and it doesn't matter because that's just not where this game was going. Nathan McKinnon has had very little impact on this series, and he's now going to have almost no impact on this series because it's hard for me to say that he's going to be healthy to ready to go in a day. You get Makar back, which seems like it's a spark in the first period, but you do absolutely nothing with it. He doesn't actually get the confidence to start shooting again until the third period, and he's not hitting his one-timers. You have Marty Nietzsche, you have Brock Nelson, you have Nazem Kadri, even though Kadri had a goal and he's been the most consistent scorer out of the 3. They are all getting outscored by guys that are making less than $1 million combined on your fourth line. Parker Kelly, Logan O'Connor, and Jack Drury have more powerful plays in this series than any of those second-line guys that we just mentioned. Arturi Lehkonen, I love that he's coming back from injury, but that's not the Arturi Lehkonen that we had in the first round against Los Angeles. There are so many individual performances. Valentin Chushkin, big fat no-show, ends up leaving with injury towards the end of yesterday's game. So many times can we sit there and say, oh, if this was going differently, if that was going differently. The excuses are over with. They are done. You want to know what the reason is, why we're sitting in this situation? Vegas is the better team. They've proven that since game 1. They are the better team. You have not been able to do anything to flip the narrative any other way. Colorado had all of these big odds. If there's some smart people, Vegas is going to be taking a hit, which is ironic because Vegas was seen as the huge underdog and probably didn't have a lot of money put down, but there's going to be some guys that are making very big money. And if you ended up betting Vegas in a sweep with the way that game 3 ended right now and the way that it just looks like it's going, I wouldn't necessarily say that you're out of the realm of possibility. All those people down in my comments, I can't tell you anything else. It doesn't seem ridiculous. They might give them a pity game, but I don't even know why they would do that because they have the home ice advantage. They can finish this thing in the Fortress and get all that time to where the Eastern Conference looks absolutely chaotic right now. Montreal was able to get the first game, and Carolina has some demons that they're trying to overcome in this round of the playoffs in the Eastern Conference final, but that could still be a dogfight. And it's hard for me to say that Vegas is going to be pushed by anybody because, yeah, did they struggle with the speed of Utah and Anaheim? Yeah, but they figured it out. They used those first 2 rounds against weaker, inferior opponents to figure out their playoff system. And now their playoff system is in such a devastating place that they're going to dominate everybody. It's ridiculous to sit here and say otherwise. I think that they're going to kill Carolina if Carolina makes it to the final. I think that they'll wipe the floor with Montreal. There's something that they have, and they have an understanding there. And there's a handful of guys that have been on the team the entirety of their existence. But the Las Vegas Golden Knights have made it to Western Conference Finals 5 of the 8 years that they've been in existence. They are 1 game away from making it to the Stanley Cup final for the 3rd time out of those 8 years in that existence. They've lost 1. They won a second. This could be the second time that they made it. This could be the 2nd cup that they get in franchise history, all before they're in 10 years of existence, and all before Canada breaks this huge streak going against them of not having any Stanley Cup wins in their country's history. And that might even end at the end of this Eastern Conference final round. It's just kind of crazy to sit here and juxtapose last week's episode 275 of the Far End of the Bench and where we're sitting now, because is this very doom and gloom? Yeah, it sounds just as depressing as it felt writing earlier today when I was making the rundown for the show. But there is still just almost 100% truth to everything that we just laid out. Do I think that the Avalanche have the ability of coming back? No, I don't. I don't see it right now. And if McKinnon is not 100%, Makar is clearly not 100%, and everybody else is just looking like they're so dejected, how is it that a professional team needs whoobies? They've needed Cale Makar on the ice to have an inkling in their mind that they could win this thing. And even with him there, they're so mentally soft and mentally weak. That's my biggest gripe, and it's been my biggest gripe since we started the show with Jared Bednar. I don't know if he's too soft on the guys, if he lets too much go, but it is a terrible run that he's been on. Thinking about last year, the team the team they lost to was tougher, more consistent, had a better structure, and was more resilient. They played with better depth. Mikko Rantanen gets a natural hat trick in an overtime, or Mikko Rantanen gets a natural hat trick in last year's game and sends you home. This year, the Vegas Golden Knights are tougher, more consistent, more resilient, and playing with better depth. And since Mikko Rantanen's overtime winner in 2021 of Game 2 of that playoff round, they are 7-0 against Colorado. Plain and simple, you own us. Vegas is the Colorado Avalanche's daddy. As a franchise, they're about to be 1 cup away from tying the amount of championships total, and they've been around for almost a third of the amount of history that the Colorado Avalanche has. And if we want to even put it back further with all of that Quebec history that the Nordiques have, even with all of that, this is one of the most ejected seasons, possible endings to the season that I can remember in a long time. And to be honest with you, it's going to take a lot. Like, they would need to totally figure everything out and look totally unstoppable and prove it for 2 games in a row for me to even have any idea. At that point, it would be a 3-2 series, and Vegas is still only 1 game away from putting this thing out of reach and putting this thing done. And that's not the way that I want to start my summer break. I want to enjoy my time. I want to enjoy getting to work with the Cherry Creek freshman football team and getting myself set up for a new school and a new teaching opportunity. Like, I don't need this. So let's get all of this therapy that we need to out right now. We saw what could have been when Landy and Kadri and Jury scored. That's the most disappointing part about this entire thing, is exactly what this team is capable of, and they are showing flashes of it, but to just so easily be able to get your bone taken from you, and instead of fighting back for it, and instead of punching or putting it back into your style, you just you took it away from me. You just sit there and cry. That does not represent who I am as a person. That does not represent how I feel as a person. The fact that these guys are getting paid millions of dollars and it's nowhere near as bad as the NFL or the NBA, but you go out there and you can't win because you have 2 less guys on a professional roster, that's BS. Everybody sitting there knows that that's BS. This team needs a big overhaul. Chris McFarland, Joe Sakic have done everything in their power to possibly put this thing together. I think that it starts from the bench. I think that all of the coaches need to be relieved of their duties. They need to figure out somebody that's going to come in here and work with McKinnon, work with Makar, probably Landeskog for another few years because of that giant contract that we signed him to. I don't know what Val's future is going to look like with given his history and given the fact that he was injured, not able to finish with this round of the playoffs. But against everything that we put together, you're just overmatched. McKinnon was clearly hurt by the end of that game, sitting on the bench, not being able to go out there and skate and be able to do anything himself. He had to be sick to his stomach watching all of these guys that he's trusted and built this relationship with and put his faith in, because that's been what everybody's told him. You can't win it on your own, McKinnon. Well, apparently the team around him that is built to make it so that he doesn't have to win on his own is forcing him to win on his own himself. I don't put any of what happened last night McKinnon hasn't played well, but the fact that everybody else isn't able to help him at all is a bigger indictment on this organization and this coaching staff than anybody is willing to admit. I don't want to hear that I'm being too harsh or that it's just one game and that they're still in it. How much more leash does a championship from 4 years ago deserve? If I remember correctly, in the first 2 Stanley Cups the Colorado Avalanche won, it was not the same coach that was behind the bench in both tries. So it's been there before. You have to make the tough decisions. Chris McFarland is getting paid a lot of money to make those tough decisions. And if he doesn't make that decision, I believe Joe Sakic will. I'm not as crazy out there as I used to be. I'm trying to be a little bit more rational, but there is just no way that I can see Jared Bednar escaping with his job. If people give him the excuse, if people give him the out, like how much longer are we going to be okay with him just accepting a loss on the bench? How much longer are we going to be okay with having the worst power play of any of these top 5 teams in the league? It's ridiculous. How much longer are we going to be okay with Brock Nelson being a passenger on this team? How much longer are we going to be okay with Val Nichushkin, with Scott Wedgwood, with Mackenzie Blackwood? How much longer until we actually put together a team that we can all sit there and consistently root for? Or how much more are we going to be able to put up and be willing to sit there and through this crap? That's what it's been. It's been crap over the last 4 seasons since you've won a Stanley Cup. You put it together once, that does not mean that you get a free pass and a job for life. That ain't how it works here. You got to at least win 2. You're still not even considered the best coach in this market. That belongs to Mike Shanahan, and it will continue to belong to Mike Shanahan until the Avalanche / Nuggets / Rockies, anybody else can figure it out. That's why this is a football state. That's why this is a Broncos state. That's why they continue to be the biggest thing anybody talks about. Funny that I bring up the Broncos at the end of that little rant. Obviously, I have notes that I plan out, but I'm not like scripting myself out here. So the Broncos are the next thing that I wanted to talk about. It seems like there's some sort of curse. I don't know what Nico and I did. We're going to have to look into what kind of ritual. That's why you should make sure that you become a member, because that will probably be a membership exclusive video. But what ritual do we need to do to figure out this Denver sports curse that we're currently under? Because if we think about it, the Denver Broncos, with the first season that they have a franchise quarterback that everybody understands, tried and true, they go through a season with almost all green lights, perfect path to where they were in the AFC Championship game. But at the end of the divisional round in the playoffs and overtime, beating Josh Allen, which is the next biggest hurdle in the conference, your quarterback breaks his ankle. He's not available for the AFC Championship. Even with all of that, you are a botched screen by Jared Stidham and a decision to not kick a field goal and go for it on 4th down from a 10-7, and that made it a 10-7 loss in the AFC Championship. You don't make it to the Super Bowl. Sayonara, see ya, bye-bye. Do we have to mention the Denver Nuggets? I feel like that one's still pretty fresh, but for those of you that are just finding the show or just figuring out about the far end of the bench, let's go ahead and recap that real quick. Last year, at the end of last season, you fire Michael Malone and Calvin Booth 6 days before the playoffs start. You go through the postseason, you end up hiring David Adelman because he's the X's and O's guru and he's a player's coach. He's going to make everybody in the locker room feel all warm and tingly. And you went out this year and got beat in 6 games by an Anthony Edwards-less Minnesota Timberwolves team, a team that ended up getting beat in 5 games in the next round by the San Antonio Spurs, and a team that Jaden McDaniels truly just embarrassed you in his post-game interview, and you couldn't say anything. You had no response, and nobody was able to overcome any of it. That's where the Denver Nuggets currently sit. Do I have to mention the Rockies? I feel like the Rockies are just always there. But, man, Denver sports, what are we doing? What do we need to do? I'm taking suggestions. I would love some suggestions. How do we break this curse and make sure that things turn themselves around from here? Because right now the Avalanche are stuck in a curse. The Nuggets feel like they've been stuck in a curse since they won their championship. I know that it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but everybody assumed that this was going to be easy. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only crazy bastard that was sitting here saying that the Avalanche were unbeatable. But seems like that's where I am right now. If you have any advice, drop them in the comments. We're wrapping things up. We're getting close to the end of the show. And I mentioned I would shout out my fellow teachers. So educators, stand up in the back. If you are already done, I hate you in the most sarcastically loving way possible, but I hate you. That includes my new school, all my teachers that I'm working with next year. I hate that you enjoy the freedom earlier than I do. I get 1 week less of the summer than you, especially because I have to go for new hire orientation at the beginning of August next year. But I digress. For the teachers that are like me that have 4 days left, we're almost there. Just keep things moving. Enjoy, pick good movies to show and enjoy, get that finger dexterity going for that play and pause button at the beginning and end of each class period. Make sure you write down where the class is. If you are leaving the building like myself that you're currently teaching at, hopefully your packing goes smoothly. You get rid of some stuff. You take only what you need. You know that the other school is going to have resources if you're continuing in education. So assume that that's going to happen. I recently just got a new computer so I can transfer all of my current stuff and give back the school computer that I was using. I also want to make sure that everybody understands this, and the teachers that have a few more weeks left, you are earning your summer break. If you go into June, you are earning it. We don't get paid for this time off in the summer, and I just have to add my 2 cents into this. You're going to see a lot of people that say the same thing, but we don't get paid for the time that we're about to have off. From June until August, there is no money that is added to my bank account. I may get paid, I may get a paycheck, and a lot of teachers do get paychecks because we're now given the ability of getting a 12-month contract instead of a 9-month contract. But I'm not, let's just say I'm not sitting here on this podcast and I'm not coaching as many sports as I do in my free time because I'm just rolling in it and making as much money as possible. Like, I don't make enough money in my teaching salary, even with the pay raise that I'm getting for my new district next year. I won't make enough to just teach. I need to coach. I'll need to figure out a way to monetize this podcast. That's why you guys need to continue to become members and do all of those great things and continue to support the podcast, tell people about it, follow, like the videos, just interact with us in general. That's the easiest way of doing those things. That's the reason why we're doing all of these things. So if you talk to a teacher, they normally have a side hustle, or they're normally pinching pennies even more so over the summer because they don't want to put themselves in a bad spot until the next school year starts. But I'm very excited. I'm in a cool situation. I'm moving into the district that I've been eyeing since I became a teacher. It's a district that I went to schools in, not my school specifically. And that was a little bit disappointing. Like, I'll peel the curtain back a little bit here. Over the last few months, up until probably about a month ago, I guess, from the end of February until middle of March, beginning of May, that's when I was told I was not going to be renewed for the school that I'm currently teaching at. I'm no longer going to be a social studies teacher at Castle Rock Middle School. Budget and enrollment. I feel like there's maybe some other things that I'm not going to name outright, but if you're an educator, I feel like, if you have your own opinions and your own way of handling things and it goes against the power structure that's currently in place, they will do anything that they can and figure out a way of getting rid of you. And that's what happened. So they succeeded in that, I guess. They got me out of where I was, and I'm disappointed because I really enjoyed being there, but it's also like a situation that I understand it's not always going to be 100% perfect, and it's going to happen again. So it was the kick in the pants that I needed to make sure that I was successful in this hiring cycle. And then the hiring cycle was just another blow after blow after blow. I went on 12 interviews. I feel like I was good in all of them, but just something wasn't clicking. I thought that I was going to stay in Douglas County because that was initially the only interviews that I was getting. I interviewed at places like Campus. I put in 6 different applications to Cherry Creek High School, and even with Liberty Middle School, that's where I'm going to be teaching for next school year. I interviewed the week before I got the job that I'm going to be using and teaching next year. I interviewed the week before for a 7th grade social studies position that I just didn't get selected for. So this was a long, drawn-out process. And if you had noticed over the last month or so of me being a little bit down in the dumps and the show seeming like it was taking a step back, I'm not going to sit there and sugarcoat it. I wasn't feeling the greatest about myself. I wasn't feeling the greatest about our situation. Just kind of felt like I was a failure all around. And that's what life sometimes does to you. And I think that that's why it's important to have people that you can talk to and have a support system. I'm very lucky to have an amazing girlfriend and family that loves me and cares about me and wanted me to do good things. And I'm learning, and I learned through that process, which is why I'm still grateful for it, that I have a lot of people around me that have seen the work that I've put into this, that understand I have assets that I bring to certain situations. I have coaches standing up and vouching for me that, I just thought that I was doing what I was supposed to do, and they saw it as me going above and beyond, and they have a lot of respect for what I was able to accomplish over the last 4 years. And by no means am I trying to sound braggadocious. Just this is what I've observed over the last month or so, is that I have a lot of people that are willing to go to bat for me. And in a situation where it kind of felt like me doing the things that I thought were the right things was putting me in this terrible money crunch and possible unemployment situation, it actually opened up my eyes to, I'm doing things the right way and I'm getting there at my own time and my own pace. And I will continue to do so. And I'm very excited for a new opportunity at a new school. And obviously pay raise is nice, but it's really the district that's going to be behind me. Really enjoyed the principal and the assistant principal that I'm going to be working underneath. I know the English teacher that I'm working with, she's going to be a person that I lean on quite a bit because she has experience teaching the subject and teaching at the school. So I got a lot to learn still. I'm by no means perfect, but I really appreciate all of those people that kind of stuck behind me in my corner, didn't let me get too far down on myself and continue to push me to do the applications and the interview processes, because I am going to be teaching, and that's really my life's passion and my life's journey. I think at this point, that's what I'm meant to do and meant to bring to the rest of the world. So I hope that everybody enjoyed this time with me, enjoyed this third membership exclusive episode of Ridin the Pine. We got into a lot of it. It won't always be Avalanche centric. I'm probably anticipating next week to be the death of the Avalanche season, whether it's in 4 games or some other point. At that time, I'll figure out some different things, different content. I have some ideas. Make sure that you're bookmarking feotbpod.org, because I am going to start blogging a little bit more and maybe putting out some different videos. I got some topics in mind that I'm interested to get people's feedback and thoughts on. I'm going to be seeing a lot of movies coming out, or trying to watch as much TV and be involved with what people like. Because yes, I love sports, but I love a whole bunch of other things, and continue to read and try and do all of that kind of good stuff. Biggest pieces of advice. I think this is a good way of ending these episodes from now on. My biggest piece of advice is to get rest, but to put your energy into things that are worthwhile for you. If you enjoy doing something, it is never going to be a waste of time. If it is something that you possibly want to continue to pursue in the future, make yourself as good as you can about it. Skills can be built. As old or as young as you are, the more constant practice and the harder, deeper practice that you do with that skill, you will get to a point where you are much better at it than you've started. That's how I feel like this podcast has gone up until this point. That's how I feel like Ridin the Pine will continue to go. Make sure that you are following, subscribed. If you are a Benchwarmer member, shout out to our $2.99 a month Benchwarmer members. You are seeing this early. If not, hopefully you have a great weekend, as this is coming out on Friday. For everybody else that's just subscribed, at FEOTB Pod for all platforms, social media, podcasting, everything like that, blogging, feotbpod.org. My name is Jimmy Pilato. This has been Ridin the Pine, membership exclusive. We will see you next week.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.